What if everything you've been taught about making money is not just wrong, but completely backwards? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Picture this. You wake up every morning and immediately your mind starts racing about bills, deadlines, and that constant pressure to hustle harder, network more, and somehow squeeze every penny out of every opportunity. Has this ever happened to you? You're running on this invisible treadmill, chasing after financial success like it's some elusive butterfly that keeps slipping through your fingers the moment you think you're close enough to catch it. Here's what most people don't realize, and what you're about to discover might surprise you. But that very act of chasing is precisely what's keeping abundance away from you. Think about it for a moment. When you chase something, what are you unconsciously declaring to the universe? You're affirming that you don't have it, that you're separate from it, that you're lacking something essential. And the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, gives you exactly what you're vibrating, more experiences of lacking and wanting. But what if I told you that you were never meant to be in this exhausting pursuit mode? What if your very essence, your spiritual DNA, was designed for something completely different? Stay with me until the end, because what we're about to explore will fundamentally shift how you think about money, abundance, and your relationship with financial flow. You see, there's an ancient spiritual principle that's been hidden in plain sight, something that the world's most abundant individuals understand instinctively, whether they realize it or not. It's called the law of non-chase, and it operates on a frequency that most people have never been taught to access. This isn't about positive thinking or wishful manifestation. This is about recognizing your inherent spiritual authority. When you were created, you weren't designed to be a beggar at the feet of circumstances. You weren't meant to grovel for opportunities or beg the universe for scraps. Has this ever happened to you? You've tried every manifestation technique, every abundance ritual, every financial strategy, yet somehow money still feels like this distant, difficult energy that requires enormous effort to access. The truth is, revolutionary, you were created in the image of the divine, which means you carry within you the same creative power that spoke worlds into existence. You were meant to command, not chase. You were designed to declare, not desperately pursue. You were born to be a magnet for abundance, not a hunter constantly tracking down your next financial breakthrough. But here's where it gets really interesting, and what you're about to discover might completely transform not just your bank account, but your entire relationship with receiving. There's a specific way to activate this innate commanding power, a particular rhythm of speech that reorganizes your energetic field and literally causes money to move toward you instead of away from you. The moment you understand this principle and begin applying it, everything changes. The chase ends and the flow begins. Now, I want to go even deeper into this hidden truth that most people never discover because they're too caught up in what I call the great deception of our time. You've been programmed from childhood to believe that your worth is directly connected to how hard you work, how many hours you put in, how much you sacrifice, and how desperately you fight for every opportunity that comes your way. This programming runs so deep that it feels like absolute truth. Society has convinced you that if you're not hustling 24/7, if you're not networking until you're exhausted, if you're not squeezing every possible penny out of every situation, then you're somehow lazy or undeserving. But here's the revelation that changes everything. This entire mindset is creating the exact opposite of what you want. Think about the most abundant people you know. I'm not talking about the ones posting on social media about their grind, but the truly wealthy individuals who seem to effortlessly attract opportunities. Have you ever noticed something peculiar about their energy? There's a calmness there, a certainty, an inner stillness that doesn't match the frantic energy of someone chasing success. They carry themselves differently because they understand something fundamental about how the universe actually operates. Money is not a physical substance that responds to physical effort. Money is energy, and energy responds to matching vibrations. When you're striving, when you're desperate, when you're pushing and forcing and fighting for every dollar, you're actually broadcasting a frequency of lack to the universe. You're vibrating at the level of, I don't have enough. And the universe, being perfectly calibrated to give you what you're energetically requesting, continues to give you experiences of not having enough. But here's where it gets fascinating. There's a specific type of energy that money absolutely cannot resist, and it has nothing to do with how many hours you work or how many people you network with. It's the energy of alignment, of speaking with divine authority, of understanding that your words carry creative power. The moment you shift from physical striving to spiritual alignment, everything in your financial reality begins to reorganize itself. This isn't some mystical concept that only works for a chosen few. This is universal law, as reliable as gravity, as predictable as the sunrise. When you speak from a place of inner knowing, when your words carry the vibration of already having rather than desperately wanting, money moves toward you with the same inevitability that water flows downhill. The transformation happens in your speech patterns, in the way you declare your reality, in understanding that your tongue is literally a creative instrument. Most people use their words to describe their current limitations, to affirm their struggles, to reinforce their fears. But when you discover how to use your voice as a tool of manifestation, when you align your speech with divine law rather than worldly struggle, the entire game changes. Write in the comments, I'm ready to stop chasing and start commanding. If this is resonating with you, and you can feel something shifting in your understanding of how abundance actually works. Now, I want to reveal something that might completely shift your perspective on why your financial struggles have been so persistent, no matter how hard you've been working. There's an invisible force at play that most people never recognize, and it's operating behind the scenes of every financial decision you make. Every time you chase after money, every time you desperately pursue an opportunity, every time you anxiously wonder where your next payment will come from, you're actually sending a very specific message to the universe. You're energetically declaring, I am separate from abundance. I am without what I need. I am lacking something essential. This isn't just a thought or a feeling. This is a vibrational transmission that the universe receives with perfect clarity. Here's the mind-bending truth that changes everything. The universe doesn't judge your declarations. It doesn't question whether what you're affirming is what you actually want. Universal law is completely impersonal and mathematically exact. It simply responds to the energy you're broadcasting by giving you more experiences that match that exact vibration. When you chase, you vibrate lack. When you vibrate lack, you attract more situations that make you feel like you're lacking. It's not personal. It's not punishment. It's just how the system works. The universe is like a massive echo chamber that amplifies whatever signal you're sending out. If you're transmitting the frequency of, I don't have enough, the echo that comes back is more experiences of not having enough. This revelation explains why so many hardworking, intelligent, deserving people stay stuck in financial struggle despite their best efforts. They're unknowingly caught in a feedback loop where their very attempts to solve their money problems are actually reinforcing the energetic patterns that created those problems in the first place. If you've made it to this point in our conversation, something profound has shifted within you. You're no longer the same person who started watching this video, and that transformation is exactly what this work is designed to create. You've stepped into a new understanding of your relationship with abundance, and more importantly, you've recognized your true identity as someone who commands rather than chases. The journey we've taken together represents just the beginning of what's possible when you align with these spiritual principles. If this content has resonated with your soul, and you can feel the truth of these words stirring something deep within you, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel. The conversations we have here are designed to support your continued evolution into the abundant being you were always meant to be. And if you've truly stayed with me through this entire exploration of the law of non-chase, I'd love to know. Write in the comments, this message was meant for me, because honestly, if you're here right now, it probably was. The fact that you invested this much time in your spiritual and financial transformation says everything about your commitment to growth. If this conversation has created a genuine connection and you feel that shift happening inside you, a simple, like on the video, helps more people discover these principles when they're ready for this level of transformation. There's a video right here that takes this foundation even deeper into practical application. It's about turning these spiritual principles into tangible results in your everyday life. Click and continue with me over there, because your abundance journey is just beginning, and I'd love to be part of guiding you into the overflow that's waiting for your recognition. But here's where this understanding becomes incredibly empowering. Once you recognize that you've been unconsciously programming your reality through your vibrational declarations, you can consciously choose to broadcast a completely different signal. You can shift from affirming separation to affirming connection, from declaring lack to declaring abundance, from chasing what you don't have to acknowledging what's already yours. The transformation happens the moment you understand that your current financial reality is not a fixed condition, but rather a reflection of your dominant vibrational patterns. Every thought, every emotion, every spoken word is either reinforcing your current limitations or creating space for new possibilities to emerge. The most powerful shift occurs when you stop trying to get something from the universe and start recognizing that you're actually in a co-creative partnership with it. Instead of positioning yourself as someone who needs to convince the universe to give you what you want, you begin to operate from the understanding that abundance is seeking you just as much as you're seeking it. Write in the comments, "I choose abundance over chasing," if you're ready to break this invisible cycle and step into a completely different relationship with money and manifestation. Now, I want to share with you the most liberating mindset shift that completely transforms your entire financial journey. Most people have this relationship with money completely backwards, and once you see it clearly, you'll never go back to the old way of thinking. You've been conditioned to believe that money is this powerful force that controls your life, that dictates your decisions, that determines your worth and your possibilities. You've been taught to serve money, to sacrifice for it, to bend yourself into uncomfortable shapes just to earn its approval. But this perspective has created a master-slave dynamic where you're constantly at the mercy of your financial circumstances. Here's the revelation that changes everything. Money was never meant to be your master. Money is energy, and like all energy, it's designed to serve consciousness, not control it. You are the conscious being with the power to direct, command, and organize energy according to your highest vision. Money is simply one form of that energy, and it's waiting for your clear direction about how it should show up in your life. When you operate from this understanding, your entire approach to abundance transforms. Instead of asking, "How can I serve money better?" or "What do I need to do to deserve money?" you begin asking, "How can money serve my highest purpose?" and "What would I like money to help me create in this world?" This shift in perspective moves you from a position of powerlessness to a position of spiritual authority. But here's where it gets really practical. There's a specific way to communicate this new relationship to the universe, a precise combination of words that acts as a command to reorganize your energetic field. It's not just positive thinking or hopeful affirmation. It's a decree that establishes your sovereignty over your financial reality. The phrase is simple but profound. I do not chase money. Money finds me, fills me, and flows to me. When you speak these words with genuine conviction, something immediate shifts in your energetic signature. You're no longer broadcasting the frequency of someone who lacks and wants. Instead, you're transmitting the vibration of someone who commands and receives. This isn't just clever wordplay. Each part of this statement serves a specific function in reprogramming your relationship with abundance. When you declare that you do not chase money, you're breaking the energetic pattern of desperation and positioning yourself as someone who operates from sufficiency rather than scarcity. When you affirm that money finds you, you're acknowledging that abundance is actively seeking you out, not hiding from you. When you state that money fills and flows to you, you're commanding immediate and continuous circulation rather than sporadic, difficult access. The transformation happens because you're literally rewiring your nervous system with new truth. Your subconscious mind, which governs so much of your reality, begins to align with this new identity of someone who doesn't chase but commands, someone who doesn't beg but receives. Write in the comments, "Money is my servant," if you're ready to flip this relationship and step into your true power as someone who directs energy rather than being controlled by it. Now I want to reveal a crucial distinction that separates those who actually experience financial transformation from those who remain stuck in endless cycles of hoping and wishing. Most people approach abundance manifestation as if they're making a request to some distant authority, hoping that maybe, if they're good enough or lucky enough, their financial situation might improve. But what I'm sharing with you operates on a completely different level of reality. When you speak the words, "I do not chase money," "Money finds me, fills me, and flows to me," you're not making a hopeful suggestion to the universe. You're not crossing your fingers and wishing for the best. You're issuing a definitive command that's encoded in sound and vibration, and commands create immediate shifts in your energetic field. Think about it this way. When you flip a light switch, you don't hope the lights will turn on. You don't wonder if maybe the electricity will decide to cooperate with you today. You command the circuit to complete, and the lights respond instantly because that's how the system is designed to work. This principle operates exactly the same way in the realm of spiritual law. The moment you speak with true authority, you're not trying to manipulate external circumstances or force outcomes through willpower. Instead, you're activating a magnetic field that was always present but dormant. You're awakening something that was already circling you, waiting for your recognition and permission to manifest in your physical reality. This is the hidden truth behind why some people seem to effortlessly attract opportunities while others struggle endlessly. The abundant individuals have discovered how to magnetize rather than manipulate. They've learned to operate from inner authority rather than outer desperation. They understand that abundance isn't something they need to create from scratch. It's something they need to allow and direct. Your financial breakthrough isn't somewhere out there in the future, dependent on external conditions aligning perfectly. It's already present in the field of infinite possibility, and your voice is the key that unlocks its manifestation. When you shift from hoping to commanding, from requesting to decreeing, from trying to convince the universe to simply instructing it, everything changes. The transformation happens because you're no longer operating from the consciousness of someone who lacks and needs. You're speaking from the identity of someone who commands and receives. You're not pushing energy away from you through desperate effort. You're drawing it toward you through magnetic certainty. This distinction between magnetizing and manipulating is absolutely critical because manipulation requires constant effort and eventually burns you out, while magnetization works effortlessly once you understand how to activate it. Write in the comments, "I command my abundance," if you can feel this shift happening inside you, and you're ready to move from hoping to commanding your financial reality. Now, I want to address something that might challenge everything you've been taught about your place in the universe and your relationship with abundance. You've been conditioned to see yourself as someone who needs to ask permission, someone who has to prove worthiness, someone who must beg and plead for opportunities to come your way. But this entire identity is a complete misunderstanding of who you actually are at your core. Your true spiritual identity is that of a sovereign being, someone who possesses inherent authority to decree reality into existence. You're not a beggar at the feet of circumstance, hoping that maybe the universe will throw you some scraps if you're good enough. You're not someone who needs to convince external forces to bless you with abundance. You are a decreer, a being with the divine right and power to speak things into manifestation. This isn't arrogance or delusion. This is recognizing the fundamental truth of your spiritual nature. When you operate from this understanding, your entire approach to creating financial flow transforms. Instead of pleading with the universe, you're instructing it. Instead of hoping for favor, you're exercising divine authority. Instead of waiting for permission, you're granting yourself access to what's already yours. But here's where this gets really fascinating, and it reveals one of the most profound spiritual laws governing abundance. There's a principle woven into the very fabric of existence that most people never discover because they're too busy chasing after what they want. It's called the universal law of non-chase. And once you understand how it operates, your entire financial reality can shift almost overnight. If you felt that connection throughout this conversation, if something inside you recognized the truth of what we've been exploring together, a simple like on lie. This video lets me know these principles are landing where they're meant to. Your engagement tells me you're ready for this level of transformation. This law states that what you do not chase will chase you when you speak in divine alignment. Think about that for a moment. The very thing you're desperately pursuing actually moves toward you when you stop the pursuit and instead align your speech with spiritual truth. It's completely counterintuitive to everything the world has taught you, but it's how the universe actually functions. The reason this law works is because chasing creates resistance, while alignment creates magnetic attraction. When you chase, you're operating from the energy of separation and lack. But when you speak with divine authority, acknowledging your oneness with abundance, you become a magnet that draws opportunities, resources, and financial flow toward you effortlessly. This isn't some mystical theory that only works for a chosen few. This is universal law, as reliable and predictable as gravity. The challenge is that most people never discover it because they're too caught up in the hustle mentality to recognize that there's a completely different way to operate. The transformation happens when you shift from the identity of someone who chases to someone who commands, from someone who begs to someone who decrees. Your words become instruments of creation rather than expressions of desperation. Write in the comments, "I decree my abundance," if you're ready to step into your true identity as a sovereign being who speaks reality into existence rather than chasing after scraps. Now, I want to reveal something that completely contradicts everything our achievement-obsessed culture has taught you about success. While everyone around you is grinding harder, hustling longer, and pushing themselves to exhaustion in pursuit of financial breakthrough, there's a completely different frequency that divine law actually responds to. Divine law doesn't reward desperate effort. It doesn't respond to hungry striving or frantic energy. In fact, the more desperately you chase after abundance, the more it seems to slip away from you. This isn't because the universe is testing you or punishing you. It's because you're operating on a frequency that's completely misaligned with how spiritual law actually functions. What divine law responds to is inner stillness, a deep sense of wholeness, and peaceful certainty about your abundance. When you can sit in complete calm and know without a shadow of doubt that your financial well-being is already established, that's when the external world begins to reorganize itself to match your inner knowing. This revelation points to something profound that most people spend their entire lives searching for in the wrong places. You've been looking for abundance in external circumstances, in market conditions, in other people's decisions, in economic trends. But the real source of sustainable abundance has nothing to do with anything happening outside of you. The kingdom of heaven, the realm where unlimited supply flows freely, isn't some distant location you need to reach or some future condition you need to create. It exists right now, in this moment, within your own consciousness. There's an inner throne of authority where you can remember your complete oneness with the source of all supply, and from that place, abundance becomes as natural as breathing. When you operate from this inner kingdom, external circumstances become irrelevant to your financial well-being. Market crashes don't shake you because your source isn't the market. Economic uncertainty doesn't frighten you because your economy is spiritual. Other people's limitations don't limit you because your supply comes from an infinite source that knows no scarcity. This understanding transforms everything, because you stop looking outside yourself for permission to be abundant. You stop waiting for external conditions to improve before you allow yourself to feel financially secure. You recognize that the throne of authority over your financial reality exists within your own consciousness, and you can access it anytime you choose. The journey inward isn't about meditation or spiritual bypassing. It's about recognizing the practical power of operating from your true identity as someone who is already one with unlimited supply. From this place of inner authority, your words carry a different vibration. Your decisions flow from wisdom rather than fear, and opportunities naturally align with your highest good. Write in the comments, "My kingdom is within," if you're beginning to understand that your real power source has been inside you all along, waiting for your recognition. Now, I want to show you how this principle is actually encoded in ancient wisdom that's been available for thousands of years. yet most people completely miss its practical application to financial abundance. There's a specific verse that reveals the exact sequence for manifesting material supply, and when you understand its true meaning, it becomes a blueprint for effortless abundance. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. This isn't religious doctrine. This is a precise formula for how spiritual law operates in the physical realm. The sequence is crucial. Spiritual alignment first, then material manifestation follows automatically. Most people try to reverse this order, seeking material things first and hoping spiritual alignment will follow. But that's like trying to get fruit before planting the seed. When you seek first the kingdom, you're prioritizing inner alignment over outer circumstances. You're establishing your connection to the source of all supply before concerning yourself with how that supply will appear in your physical reality. This creates a foundation of certainty that becomes the vibrational platform from which abundance flows naturally. Here's what's happening behind the scenes when you operate from this spiritual sequence. Your nervous system shifts from anxiety-based striving to peace-based receiving. Your decision-making transforms from fear-driven choices to wisdom-guided actions. Your entire energetic signature changes from someone who lacks and wants to someone who knows and receives. Money, being pure energy in motion, responds to this vibrational alignment with mathematical precision. It's not attracted to anxious energy, frantic hustling, or desperate attempts to force outcomes. Money responds specifically to the frequency of inner peace spoken with complete certainty. When your words carry the vibration of already having rather than desperately needing, money moves toward you with the same inevitability that iron filings move toward a magnet. This is why two people can speak the exact same affirmations, but only one experiences results. It's not about the words themselves. It's about the vibrational quality behind those words. When someone speaks from anxiety, even positive words carry the frequency of lack. But when someone speaks from inner knowing, even simple statements become powerful commands that reorganize their entire financial reality. I genuinely love to have you as part of this community of conscious creators who understand that abundance is a spiritual practice, not just a financial goal. When you subscribe, you're joining a space where we explore the deeper principles that actually create lasting wealth and prosperity. Hit that subscribe button if you're ready for more conversations like this one. The transformation happens when you understand that your vibrational state is your most valuable asset. Your inner alignment is more important than your education, your connections, your background, or your current circumstances. When you prioritize getting into vibrational alignment with abundance, everything else arranges itself to support that frequency. This isn't about suppressing negative emotions or pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that your inner state directly influences your outer experience, and you have complete authority over that inner realm. Write in the comments, alignment first, manifestation follows. If you're beginning to see how this ancient principle can revolutionize your approach to creating financial flow. Now, I want to reveal what's happening at the quantum level every time you interact with money or think about your financial situation. There's an invisible communication system operating between your consciousness and what scientists call the quantum field, the energetic foundation from which all physical reality emerges. Most people have no idea they're constantly broadcasting messages to this field through their thoughts, emotions, and actions. Every time you chase after money, every time you desperately pursue an opportunity, every time you anxiously worry about your finances, you're unconsciously whispering a very specific message to the quantum field. You're communicating, I am separate from what I seek. I am disconnected from abundance. I am lacking something essential. The field, being perfectly responsive and completely neutral, receives this transmission and obediently echoes that belief back to you by creating more experiences of separation and lack. This is happening behind the scenes of every financial struggle you've ever experienced. It's not that you're cursed or unlucky or destined for scarcity. It's that you've been unknowingly programming the field with messages of separation, and the field is simply giving you exactly what you're vibrationally requesting. But here's where everything shifts. And this is the transformation that changes your entire financial trajectory forever. When you speak with true authority, when your words carry the vibration of inner knowing and spiritual certainty, you're proclaiming to heaven and earth that you are already one with your good. You're declaring your unity with abundance rather than your separation from it. This proclamation of oneness creates an entirely different response from the quantum field. Instead of echoing back experiences of lack, universal law begins to organize form around the truth you're speaking. Opportunities align, resources appear, synchronicities multiply, and money flows with increasing ease because you're now broadcasting the frequency of connection rather than separation. The difference between these two vibrational states is the difference between struggle and ease, between scarcity and abundance, between financial stress and financial flow. When you understand that your consciousness is in constant communication with the creative force of the universe, you realize that your words and thoughts aren't just personal expressions. They're creative commands that literally shape your reality. This isn't metaphysical theory. This is practical. Quantum mechanics applied to your financial life. Every statement you make about money is either reinforcing your connection to abundance or strengthening your sense of separation from it. Every thought you think about your financial future is either aligning you with flow or creating more resistance. The journey from separation consciousness to oneness consciousness is the most powerful financial transformation you can ever make because it addresses the root cause of financial struggle rather than just the symptoms. Write in the comments, "I choose oneness over separation," if you're ready to shift your quantum communication and start broadcasting connection instead of lack to the field of infinite possibility. Now I want to show you the most powerful secret that separates those who actually manifest financial abundance from those who remain stuck in perpetual wanting. There's a specific way of speaking that the law of non-chase rewards, and once you master this linguistic transformation, your entire relationship with money shifts from scarcity to overflow. The key is learning to speak as if you already possess what you desire, rather than from a place of lacking or wanting. This isn't about pretending or fake it till you make it mentality. This is about aligning your speech with the quantum truth that abundance exists right now in the field of infinite possibility, and your words are the bridge that brings it into physical manifestation. When you say, "I need more money," you're speaking from lack. When you say, "Money is coming to me," you're still implying separation and delay. But when you declare, "I do not chase money, money finds me, fills me, and flows to me," you're speaking from the consciousness of someone who already possesses what they desire. You're not requesting or hoping. You're acknowledging what already is. This shift in language creates an immediate transformation in your nervous system and your energetic signature. Your subconscious mind, which can't distinguish between what's happening now and what you're vividly declaring as truth, begins to align with this new reality. Your body language changes, your decision-making transforms, and your entire presence shifts from someone who lacks to someone who has. But here's something crucial that most people miss in their transformation journey. It's not enough to simply stop chasing or stop speaking from lack. When you remove old patterns, you create a void, and nature abhors a vacuum. If you don't actively fill that space with new spiritual rhythm and spoken truth, the old patterns will inevitably return because there's nothing else occupying that mental and emotional territory. This is why so many people experience temporary shifts, but then slide back into old financial struggles. They successfully identify what they need to stop doing, but they fail to consistently practice what they need to start doing. The void left by stopping negative patterns becomes a breeding ground for doubt, fear, and old limiting beliefs to creep back in. The solution is to deliberately and consistently fill that space with new rhythm, new declarations, new truth spoken with authority and conviction. Your mind needs something to focus on. Your nervous system needs new patterns to follow, and your consciousness needs fresh content to work with. This is where the power of repetition and consistency becomes absolutely essential. Every time you catch yourself slipping into old patterns of financial worry or scarcity thinking, you must immediately replace that energy with your new declarations of abundance and authority. Write in the comments, "I speak from abundance," if you're ready to transform your language from lacking and wanting to having and receiving, and fill every moment with new rhythm rather than old patterns. Now, I want to share with you the hidden science behind why certain phrases have the power to completely rewire your relationship with abundance, while others leave you exactly where you started. There's something profound that happens when you speak specific words with intention, rhythm, and consistency that goes far beyond positive thinking or mental conditioning. When you speak the command, "I do not chase money. Money finds me, fills me, flows to me," boldly, rhythmically, and daily, you're engaging in what I call sacred repetition. This isn't mindless chanting or empty affirmation. This is deliberate neurological reprogramming that creates new pathways in your brain and literally rewires your nervous system to operate from abundance rather than scarcity. Your nervous system has been conditioned through years of struggle, worry, and effort-based thinking to automatically respond to financial situations with stress, anxiety, and desperation. These patterns are deeply grooved into your neurological pathways, which is why changing your financial reality often feels so difficult despite your best intentions. When you like this video, you're not just showing appreciation, you're helping these principles reach other people who are ready to stop chasing and start commanding their financial reality. If this message shifted something within you, that like helps it find its way to someone else who needs to hear it today. But when you engage in sacred repetition with genuine conviction, you're essentially creating new neural highways that bypass the old patterns of financial stress. Each time you speak these words with authority, you're strengthening these new pathways until they become your dominant response to money and abundance. The transformation begins with the very first part of this powerful declaration: "I do not chase money." This simple statement does something revolutionary. It immediately frees you from the exhausting cycle of effort-based striving that has kept you trapped in financial struggle. When you declare that you do not chase money, you're positioning yourself as a sovereign being who receives rather than someone who desperately pursues. This shift from pursuer to receiver is one of the most profound identity transformations you can make, because it changes everything about how you show up in the world. Instead of operating from the energy of, "I need to get something," you begin operating from the energy of, "I am open to receive what's already mine." Instead of pushing and forcing and struggling for every financial breakthrough, you relax into a state of confident expectancy. The beauty of this declaration is that it doesn't just change how you think about money. It changes how you feel in your body when you interact with financial opportunities. Your shoulders relax, your breathing deepens, your entire nervous system shifts from fight or flight mode into a state of peaceful receptivity that naturally attracts rather than repels abundance. This is the beginning of embodying a completely different relationship with wealth, where you're no longer exhausted by the pursuit, but energized by the natural flow of receiving what aligns with your highest good. Write in the comments, "I embody receiving," if you can feel this shift happening in your nervous system as you move from the identity of someone who chases to someone who naturally attracts and receives. Now, I want to take you deeper into the revolutionary understanding that transforms money from something you hunt into something that actively seeks you out. The second part of this powerful declaration, "Money finds me," reveals a profound truth about the nature of abundance that most people never discover because they're stuck in the old paradigm of scarcity thinking. Money is not an inanimate object sitting somewhere waiting for you to work hard enough to deserve it. Money is living spiritual substance, pure energy and motion that responds to vibration just like every other form of energy in the universe. When you understand this fundamental truth, your entire approach to creating financial flow transforms from hunting to magnetizing, from pursuing to attracting. This living spiritual substance is constantly moving, constantly seeking its highest expression, constantly looking for consciousness that can direct it toward meaningful purpose. When you operate from the vibration of someone who knows they're worthy of abundance, when you speak with the authority of someone who understands their divine right to prosper, you become a magnet that draws this energy toward you naturally. The transformation happens because you're no longer positioning yourself as someone who needs to convince money to come to you. Instead, you're recognizing that money is actively seeking conscious beings who can steward it wisely, and you're simply making yourself available to receive what's already moving in your direction. But the journey goes even deeper with the third part of this declaration: fills me. This isn't about receiving just enough to get by or hoping for small improvements in your financial situation. This phrase activates what I call overflow consciousness, where you affirm complete abundance rather than trickle-down supply. When you declare that money fills you, you're claiming your right to have your vessel completely full, your storehouse abundantly stocked, your field fertile and overflowing. You're not settling for scraps or modest improvements. You're aligning with the universe's desire to express abundance through you in ways that exceed your current imagination. This overflow consciousness is crucial because it breaks you free from survival thinking and limitation mindset. Instead of operating from just enough or barely making it, you step into the reality of someone whose abundance overflows into every area of life. Your financial container expands to hold more because you're no longer unconsciously limiting what you're willing to receive. The impact of this mindset shift affects every financial decision you make, every opportunity you recognize, every action you take toward building wealth. You begin to think like someone whose resources are abundant rather than scarce, and this changes everything about how you navigate the world. Write in the comments, "My vessel overflows," if you're ready to expand beyond survival thinking and step into the reality of complete abundance flowing through every area of your life. Now, I want to reveal the final piece of this transformative declaration that activates immediate results and eliminates the waiting game that keeps so many people stuck in financial limbo. The fourth part, "flows to me now," does something incredibly powerful. It commands immediate circulation with divine timing and perfect order, completely removing delays and maybe someday thinking from your consciousness. Most people unknowingly sabotage their abundance by unconsciously accepting delays as normal or inevitable. They speak about their financial goals in future tense, always placing their breakthrough somewhere out there in some distant tomorrow. But when you declare that money flows to you now, you're collapsing the illusion of time that separates you from your abundance. This isn't about being impatient or demanding instant gratification. This is about recognizing that in the realm of spiritual law, everything exists in the eternal now. Your abundance isn't being created in the future. It exists right now in the field of infinite possibility, and your command of now is what authorizes its immediate circulation into your physical experience. The transformation happens because you're no longer energetically agreeing to wait for external conditions to change before you can experience financial flow. You're taking spiritual authority over timing itself, declaring that divine order operates through you in this present moment, not at some convenient future date that may or may never arrive. But this core declaration becomes even more powerful when you support it with additional empowering statements that reinforce your new identity as someone who commands rather than chases abundance. When you declare, "I walk in divine wealth," you're affirming that prosperity is your natural state of being, not something you occasionally experience. When you state, "Money is under my word," you're claiming your authority as someone whose speech directs financial flow rather than hoping external forces will be kind to you. The phrase, "I do not reach, I receive," is particularly transformative because it breaks the pattern of grasping and stretching for opportunities. Instead of positioning yourself as someone who must extend beyond your natural state to access abundance, you relax into the reality of someone who naturally receives what flows toward them. And when you declare, "Abundance is my natural state," you're reprogramming your identity at the cellular level, shifting from someone who occasionally experiences prosperity to someone for whom abundance is as natural as breathing. These declarations work together to create a complete identity transformation that affects every aspect of how you interact with money, opportunities, and financial decisions. Your subconscious mind begins to operate from this new programming, automatically aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions with someone who embodies financial sovereignty. Write in the comments, I receive in divine timing if you're ready to eliminate delays from your consciousness and command immediate circulation of abundance in perfect order. Now, I want to reveal something that will completely transform how you understand the power of your own voice and why certain people seem to effortlessly create financial miracles while others struggle despite their best efforts. Your tongue is literally a wand, and every word you speak functions as a magical spell that creates reality in the physical realm. This isn't metaphor or mystical thinking. This is recognizing the actual creative force that flows through conscious speech. When you speak with intention, authority, and alignment, you're wielding the same power that brought worlds into existence. You are the magician of your own experience, and your words are the incantations that shape your financial reality moment by moment. Most people use their tongue unconsciously, speaking whatever thoughts happen to arise without recognizing that they're casting spells with every sentence. They complain about their financial situation, affirm their limitations, and reinforce their struggles through careless speech, never realizing that their words are actively creating more of what they're describing. But when you understand that your tongue is a creative instrument, everything changes. You become incredibly conscious about what you allow to pass through your lips because you recognize that you're literally speaking your reality into existence. Every declaration about money either strengthens your abundance or reinforces your limitations. However, here's where most people make a crucial mistake in their transformation journey. They focus on changing their external behavior. They stop chasing physically, they start speaking differently in public, they modify their actions, but they neglect the mental reprogramming that's absolutely essential for lasting change. Even if you stop chasing money physically, if your mental patterns are still running the old programs of pursuit, desperation, and scarcity, you'll continue to attract lack because your subconscious mind governs far more of your reality than you realize. Your subconscious is operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, processing millions of bits of information and making decisions that either align with abundance or reinforce limitation. The mental transformation must happen simultaneously with the spoken transformation because your subconscious mind is like a powerful computer running in the background of your consciousness. If it's programmed with old patterns of financial struggle, it will continue to filter opportunities, influence decisions, and create circumstances that match those internal programs regardless of what you're consciously trying to manifest. This is why some people can speak all the right affirmations and still experience financial difficulty. They've changed their conscious speech but haven't addressed the deeper mental patterns that are running automatically beneath their awareness. The real breakthrough happens when you align both your conscious declarations and your subconscious programming with the same truth about your abundant nature. Write in the comments, "I reprogram my subconscious," if you're ready to go beyond surface-level changes and transform the deep mental patterns that have been unconsciously governing your financial reality. Now, I want to give you a powerful metaphor that will completely change how you approach mental reprogramming and why some people experience rapid financial transformation while others remain stuck despite knowing all the right techniques. Your mind is literally a garden, and every thought you think is a seed that's being planted in the fertile soil of your consciousness. Just like a physical garden, what grows in your mental landscape depends entirely on what seeds you choose to plant and nurture. When you plant seeds of doubt, worry, and financial anxiety, you're cultivating weeds that choke out every sprout of abundance trying to emerge in your life. These mental weeds spread quickly, taking over your entire consciousness and creating a harvest of limitation, struggle, and scarcity. But when you consciously plant seeds of faith, expectation, and abundance, you create the conditions for a spiritual harvest that exceeds anything you could imagine. The beautiful truth about mental gardening is that you have complete control over what gets planted. You are the gardener of your own consciousness, and every moment presents you with the choice of which seeds to nurture and which weeds to remove. The transformation happens when you become incredibly intentional about the thoughts you allow to take root in your mind. Instead of letting random anxieties and worries grow wild, you begin to cultivate specific thought patterns that align with the financial reality you want to experience. This is where the practical work of mental transformation becomes absolutely crucial. You must consciously replace old thought patterns with new ones that support your abundant future. When the old thought, "How will it come?" arises, you immediately substitute it with, "It is already here." When your mind defaults to, "I don't have enough," you redirect it to, "I bless what I have," and it expands. When the pattern, "I have to chase," tries to reassert itself, you override it with, "Money flows freely to me." This isn't positive thinking or denial of reality. This is conscious gardening of your mental landscape. You're removing the weeds that have been strangling your financial growth and replacing them with thoughts that create fertile ground for abundance to flourish. The impact of this mental gardening extends far beyond just feeling better about money. These new thought patterns begin to influence your decision-making, your perception of opportunities, your willingness to receive, and your ability to recognize abundance that's already present in your life, but previously invisible to your scarcity-conditioned awareness. Each time you catch an old limiting thought and replace it with an empowering truth, you're literally rewiring your brain and creating new neural pathways that automatically lead to abundance consciousness rather than scarcity thinking. Write in the comments, "I tend my mental garden," if you're committed to becoming the conscious gardener of your thoughts and cultivating only seeds that produce an abundant harvest. Now, I want to show you how to accelerate this mental transformation using a technique that bypasses your logical mind and speaks directly to your subconscious in the language it understands best. While conscious thought replacement is powerful, adding visualization to your reprogramming process creates rapid shifts that can surprise you with their speed and effectiveness. Picture money not as something elusive that you need to chase down or capture, but as a river flowing directly to your door. See yourself standing calmly on the bank, hands open, ready to receive, rather than frantically chasing the current or exhausting yourself struggling upstream against the natural flow. This visualization does something profound. It reprograms your nervous system to expect abundance rather than struggle. When you regularly visualize from this place of peaceful receiving, your subconscious mind begins to embody this new reality. Your body language shifts, your energy changes, and you start naturally attracting opportunities because you're vibrating at the frequency of someone who receives rather than someone who chases. The visualization becomes a blueprint that your subconscious uses to reorganize your external experience. But here's where the real transformation accelerates, and this technique will change how you handle every moment of doubt or fear that tries to derail your progress. When scarcity thoughts arise, and they will because old patterns don't disappear overnight, you must immediately interrupt that mental script and substitute new truth before the fear can take root. The key is understanding that your mind responds far better to substitution than to simple denial of old patterns. When a fearful thought about money arises, don't try to fight it or pretend it doesn't exist. Instead, immediately redirect your mental energy toward your new truth. The moment you catch yourself thinking, "I can't afford this," instantly replace it with, "Money flows to me easily." When "What if I run out?" appears, substitute, "My supply is unlimited and constantly replenishing." This interruption and replacement technique works because you're not leaving a mental vacuum. You're not just stopping negative thoughts. You're filling that space with empowering truth before the old pattern can complete its cycle. Your subconscious mind needs something to focus on, and when you give it new content that aligns with abundance, it begins to accept that as your new normal. The transformation happens through consistency and speed. The faster you can catch and redirect limiting thoughts, the weaker those old neural pathways become, and the stronger your new abundance patterns grow. Each successful interruption and replacement literally rewires your brain for financial success. This isn't about perfection. It's about building new mental habits that automatically support your abundant future rather than unconsciously reinforcing your past limitations. Write in the comments, "I interrupt and redirect," if you're ready to become the conscious guardian of your thoughts and master the art of immediate mental course correction. Now, I want to give you a specific practice that takes everything we've discussed and transforms it into measurable results in your physical reality. This isn't theory or wishful thinking. This is a precise spiritual discipline that creates undeniable shifts when applied with commitment and consistency. For the next 3 consecutive days, you're going to speak your power sentence, I do, not chase money. Money finds me, fills me, and flows to me exactly 21 times each day. Not 20, not 22, 21 times with intention, authority, and complete conviction. This isn't arbitrary. There's profound spiritual significance in this number that activates transformation at the cellular level. The magic happens in how you structure these declarations throughout your day. 7 times when you first wake up, before you check your phone or allow any external influences to affect your consciousness. These morning declarations set your energetic tone for the entire day, greeting each new 24-hour cycle with spiritual authority rather than anxiety about what might happen. 7 times during midday, when momentum often wavers and doubt tries to creep back in. This is when your logical mind starts questioning what you're doing, when external circumstances try to convince you that nothing has changed. Your midday affirmations become a reset button that brings you back to truth when the world attempts to pull you into old patterns of worry and limitation. 7 times before sleep, when your conscious mind relaxes and your subconscious becomes most receptive to new programming. These evening statements are perhaps the most powerful because they're the last vibrations your mind receives before entering the theta brainwave state where deep transformation occurs. Your subconscious mind works throughout the night to align your reality with these final declarations. This 3-day intensive creates a complete energetic shift that builds momentum with each repetition. The first day breaks old patterns. The second day establishes new rhythm, and the third day locks in the transformation. By the end of these 72 hours, your nervous system will have experienced such consistent exposure to abundance consciousness that your default setting begins to change. The beauty of this practice is that it's not overwhelming or complicated. You're simply speaking truth 21 times throughout your day, but doing it with such consistency and conviction that your entire energetic signature transforms. Each declaration is like a deposit in your spiritual bank account, building compound interest that manifests as increased opportunities, unexpected income, and effortless financial flow. Write in the comments, I commit to 21 daily, if you're ready to dedicate the next 3 days to this transformative practice and experience firsthand how consistent spiritual discipline creates tangible results. Now, I want to prepare you for what's going to happen during these 3 transformative days, because understanding the resistance beforehand will give you the strength to push through when it arrives. The moment you begin this practice, your old programming is going to fight back with everything it has. This isn't failure. This is exactly what should happen when you're breaking free from decades of conditioned limitation. Your old habits will scream at you, telling you that you're wasting your time speaking to the air. Your logical mind will whisper that this is foolish, that you should be doing something more practical to solve your financial problems. The world around you will seem to conspire to remind you of every limitation you've ever experienced, every bill that's unpaid, every reason why abundance might not be possible for someone like you. This resistance is actually a sign that the transformation is working. Your old identity is fighting for survival because it recognizes that you're stepping into a completely new version of yourself. The key is understanding that this is the most crucial moment in your entire journey. This is when you must speak louder, with even more conviction and unwavering faith than before. When doubt arises, don't whisper your declarations. Speak them with authority. When fear tries to convince you to quit, that's precisely when you need to increase your commitment to the practice. The resistance you feel is the old version of yourself dissolving to make space for the abundant being you're becoming. What you're engaging in during these 3 days is nothing less than spiritual sovereignty, the recognition of your divine right to govern your own reality. You're exercising the power to say to lack, you have no place here, and the authority to cast out fear through faith. This isn't positive thinking or self-help techniques. This is claiming your birthright as a conscious being who directs energy rather than being controlled by circumstances. The transformation happens because you're not just changing your thoughts, You're changing your entire relationship with power itself. Instead of giving your power away to external conditions, economic circumstances, or other people's limitations, you're claiming dominion over your own experience. You're recognizing that your consciousness is the throne from which you rule your financial reality. This practice of spiritual sovereignty affects every aspect of your life because when you stop allowing lack to have authority over you in one area, that confidence spreads into every other area where you've been accepting limitation as normal. Write in the comments, "I choose sovereignty over surrender," if you're ready to stand in your spiritual authority and refuse to give your power away to circumstances, limitations, or fear. Now, I want to reveal the exact moment when this practice shifts from effort to embodiment, when your declarations stop being something you do and become something you are. The goal isn't just to speak these words 21 times a day for 3 days. The goal is to continue declaring until your cellular structure carries this truth like a banner and your entire world begins to mirror this new reality in physical form. This transformation happens at the deepest level of your being, when every cell in your body knows that you do not chase money. That money finds you, fills you, and flows to you. It's not enough for your mind to understand this concept. Your nervous system, your DNA, your very essence must vibrate with this truth until it becomes as natural as your heartbeat. When you reach this level of embodiment, something miraculous occurs. You stop trying to manifest abundance and start naturally expressing it. Your presence alone begins to attract opportunities because you're no longer someone hoping for financial breakthrough. You've become someone who is abundance expressed in human form. The journey to this cellular knowing requires dedication beyond the initial 3-day practice. You continue speaking these declarations not because you have to, but because they've become your natural language, your authentic expression of who you really are. Your words begin to carry a different weight, a different authority, because they're coming from someone who has completely integrated this truth. To accelerate this process of cellular integration, you can add powerful sealing affirmations that reinforce your authority over financial flow. When you declare, "I do not chase, I command," you're establishing your identity as someone who directs rather than pursues. When you state, "Divine substance knows where I live," you're affirming that abundance is actively seeking you out, not hiding from you. The declaration, "My word governs my wealth," is particularly transformative because it positions your speech as the supreme authority over your financial reality. You're not hoping external forces will cooperate. You're recognizing that your word is law in your personal universe. And when you proclaim, "I speak and money obeys," you're claiming your rightful position as the conscious director of energy rather than a victim of circumstances. These sealing affirmations work together to create an unshakable foundation of financial sovereignty that affects every decision you make, every opportunity you recognize, and every action you take toward building wealth. They become the underlying operating system that runs automatically in the background of your consciousness. Write in the comments, "My cells know abundance," if you're committed to this deeper level of transformation where abundance becomes your natural state rather than something you occasionally experience. Now I want to show you how to make this invisible transformation visible, how to take the power you've been cultivating internally and anchor it in the physical realm where it becomes an undeniable force in your reality. There's a profound difference between thinking these truths and actually declaring them in a way that creates spiritual contracts with the universe itself. Take your sacred sentence, "I do not chase money. Money finds me, fills me, and flows to me," and write it down as a visible vow, a spiritual contract with the unseen forces that govern abundance. This isn't casual journaling or hopeful note-taking. This is typing or writing with complete confidence and authority, as if you're establishing universal law rather than expressing personal desire. When you write these words with genuine conviction, something powerful happens in the quantum field. You're creating a physical anchor for your spiritual authority, a tangible reminder that you've made a definitive decision about how money flows in your life. This written declaration becomes a reference point that your subconscious mind can return to whenever doubt tries to creep in. The act of making your power visible through written word creates accountability to your highest self. Every time you see these words, you're reminded not of who you used to be, but of who you've chosen to become. You're reinforcing the identity transformation that's been taking place throughout this entire journey. But the ultimate transformation happens when you fully step into your new identity as a speaker of law, rather than someone who begs for favor from external circumstances. This represents the complete reversal of everything you were taught about your relationship with abundance. You're no longer a seeker desperately searching for financial breakthrough. You've become a speaker whose words carry creative authority. You're no longer a beggar, hoping that maybe the universe will throw you some scraps if you're good enough. You've transformed into a commander who directs energy with conscious intention. You're no longer a pursuer running after opportunities. You've evolved into a receiver who naturally attracts what aligns with your highest good. This identity shift changes everything, because when you truly embody the truth that your words move worlds and money obeys your voice, you operate from a completely different frequency. Your decisions flow from wisdom rather than fear. Your actions align with abundance rather than scarcity, and your entire presence becomes magnetic to the very prosperity you once chased. If you've made it to this point in our conversation, something profound has shifted within you. You're no longer the same person who started watching this video, and that transformation is exactly what this work is designed to create. You've stepped into a new understanding of your relationship with abundance, and more importantly, you've recognized your true identity as someone who commands rather than chases. The journey we've taken together represents just the beginning of what's possible when you align with these spiritual principles. If this content has resonated with your soul and you can feel the truth of these words stirring something deep within you, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel. The conversations we have here are designed to support your continued evolution into the abundant being you were always meant to be. And if you've truly stayed with me through this entire exploration of the law of non-chase, I'd love to know. Write in the comments. This message was meant for me. Because honestly, if you're here right now, it probably was. The fact that you invested this much time in your spiritual and financial transformation says everything about your commitment to growth. If this conversation has created a genuine connection and you feel that shift happening inside you, a simple like on the video helps more people discover these principles when they're ready for this level of transformation. There's a video right here that takes this foundation even deeper into practical application. It's about turning these spiritual principles into tangible results in your everyday life. Click and continue with me over there, because your abundance journey is just beginning, and I'd love to be part of guiding you into the overflow that's waiting for your recognition.